Hi everybody, welcome to Wolf Haven Farm. It's a hot day and we do have heat advisories here in Arizona, so Mary and I have decided to work outside today. So last time y'all saw me, we'd done the electrical, we had everything lined up to come out of the shed right here on this wall, and I dug a ditch 3 feet deep all the way to the telephone pole over there. Well, APS came out and they don't want it over here, they want it over here. So let's go look at what we got now. So now we're on the opposite side of the shed. So now we've had to run power from the other side all the way to this side and put in this big giant electrical box. There's also a big giant electrical box inside the shed. It goes down into the ground 3 feet here and runs 358 feet that way.
258
Oh, is it
feet.
200? I thought we measured 3.
258 feet.
258 feet that way, all the way to a power pole way down there. So we need PVC, electrical, schedule 40, 80, or as we found out, DP 120. So Mary and I loaded up the 18-foot trailer onto the truck and drove to Phoenix and picked up how many feet?
We picked up 720 feet of DB 120 because it was very cheap to buy. No, not 720 feet, 480 feet of DB 120. So we don't need all of that obviously for this ditch, but we are going to be able to use it elsewhere, and it was significantly cheaper to buy it from this really nice guy named Jeff down in Anthem, just north of Phoenix. He put it on Facebook and we went down Saturday and got it. And then on the way back, we stopped off in Prescott and we got a drywall lift from another lovely couple who just finished building their house and they were getting rid of the equipment that they had bought to do it. So we now have a drywall lift, which is going to help us out a lot inside.
So today's project, well, it started out inside the shed, but I forgot to get screws to screw into the metal inside the shed. So we can't do that project. So we've decided to just bear with the heat, and we have to lay PVC tubing. Yes, the electrical company doesn't do it. We have to lay PVC tubing from here all the way down to that power pole and glue it together all the way to that power pole.
Yes.
So Mary and I are going to tackle that today.
And we do all this, so we actually connect it here, but the electrical company connects it down there. So we lay it all the way there. They send somebody out, they inspect everything. Well, the county sends somebody out to inspect. They put a green tag on this box, and then APS comes out, sees the green tag, knows it's okay for them to run the wires. Then they run the wires through our tube down there where they connect the last piece of it, and then they connect it up to that transformer. So here was also the difference from a timeline perspective. If we had done the original ditch to that other pole, which was only 86 feet away, it was a lot closer, but it would be 12 to 14 weeks from the point of getting the green tag before we would get power, because they were going to not tap into an existing power pole. They were going to replace a power pole and then put a transformer on it. But if we do the 258 feet to this power pole, once we get the green tag, it's 1 week to getting power to the shed. So we went this direction. And this was their preference too, because there's already an existing transformer and it's a lot easier for them to tie in here, and they don't have to come out and replace the pole and put a transformer on. But what was also interesting out here is 811 came out, and they have to come out and look at the ground down here. And actually I'm going to walk down there. So I'm going to pause for a moment and then I'll explain it down there. Okay, so now we're down at the power pole and you can see a bunch of flags. So 811 came out. First, a telecommunications person came out, and unbeknownst to us and unknown why, there are telecommunication cables running multiple different directions. You can see all the little red flags across the property. We have no idea why. Now, the people that lived here previously did have a phone in the cabin, so maybe that's why.
From way down here?
We don't know why it comes all the way from this pole when there's a pole closer to the cabin. But anyways, so then there's also, as you can see, the stripes on the ground. When APS came out, the red lines are theirs. of them trying to trace and figure out
That way,
where the power lines go.
go that way.
And so they couldn't hear the tone, so they didn't think that all of the wires were active. They're in the ground, but not actively being used because they would have heard the tone. But then this one, as you can see, goes to Marion Rogers' house. So then Mike and the APS guy went over to Marion Rogers' house so they could tap into their meter box to hear the tone to make sure that their power was coming from here, because there's an overhead wire to Marion Rogers' house. So why is there an overhead wire to their house for APS and an underground wire from APS to their house? That's still a mystery. We don't know why. But
Neither does Marion Rogers.
and Marion Roger. So we have no idea why that is. So as you can see, this is a big trench, and we have a small backhoe. This would have taken Mike a while to do, and so I called Dan, the guy who's going to build our house, and I asked him if he would come over and do it. And 2 hours later, he had it done because Dan has a big tractor, and so it took Dan no time at all to dig it. So they could use his backhoe all the way until they got to 10 feet from here, and then they had a hand dig, but he also brought somebody who did the hand digging. So that saved us a lot of time.
Dan went right up to there with the backhoe.
Oh, well, with all the lines on the ground, Dan knew where to go. And it was like Mike said, it was just, he's clearly very good at using a backhoe. So it didn't take him any time at all, and he didn't hit anything, which was great. So now we're going to lay the pipe. Now you can see the shed that way. From there, all the way to here today. And then there's a riser that will connect the pipe from this corner, this end, and here. An elbow and a riser that goes up.
Just the elbow.
Just the elbow.
down
Oh,
there.
the riser's at the other end. Sorry. There's an elbow that connects here. Now, here's the other interesting thing about Arizona that Mike and I did not know, is that homeowners, if you know what you're doing, can put in all your own electrical. You do not have to hire an electrician to do it. You have to pull a permit, and they have to come out and inspect it. But if you know what you're doing, you can do it yourself. And so, good information to know, because Mike does know how to do electrical, but he doesn't work with 220, and there's two 220 lines in the shed. So we hired an electrician. They came out, they wired the whole shed. But now as we think about the cabins and other stuff that we're building, technically we don't have to hire electricians. We just have to make sure that it passes inspection. So we didn't know that until the APS guy told us that. And then we asked the electrician, and he said, no, if you know what you're doing, you can do it. And we're like, well, it would have been nice if somebody had told us that. But anyways, we're learning. So anybody else who's building in Arizona, FYI, if you know what you're doing, you don't have to actually hire an electrician. You just have to have it inspected, and you have to pull a permit. So we've also been working on getting the permits done.
For a shed that's not on this piece of property.
Right. So here's here's our other fun thing. So that shed is obviously there, and it's obviously on our property. And we pulled a permit, and the county came out and they inspected the footer, but the permit expired, and they hadn't come out to do the inspection because I didn't know I had to call them to come out and do an inspection of the completed building. So as far as the county is concerned, that shed does not exist, even though you can see it in an aerial picture of the property. So last week I pulled the permit for the electrical. They questioned why I was pulling a permit for electrical in a building that didn't exist, understandably. So then myself and the county had several conversations because they said that there's a cabin on the property, and I said yes, and they wanted the permit on the cabin. So we went through this last summer with them. When we pulled the permit for the shed and they saw the cabin on the property, they kept insisting on us giving them the permit for the cabin. The cabin was built in 1982. We don't have the permit for the cabin. We don't need the permit for the cabin. So we got that explained again and settled. And we've got the correct permit now pulled. I had to do a bunch of paperwork. I had to do a brand new site map of the entire property, because the other problem is that since we built the shed, we split the parcel. So there's two different addresses. And so the shed was on 1880 Spring Valley Road when we put in the permit the first time, but now it's at 1918 Spring Valley Road. So the county was questioning why the shed has a different address than the original permit on the shed. I explained that the shed was built first, the parcel was split afterwards. That went around and around for 2 days before we got that squared away. So now I think we're good. I think we've got all the paperwork into the county. I think everybody understands where everything is and why everything is sitting where it's sitting. So we should be able to get the electrical permit cleared by early week. And then as soon as I can get the electrical permit cleared, I can schedule the inspection for the county to come out and put the green tag on the box. And then the electrician can come out and finish his work, because he can't finish it until he gets the green tag. He can come out and finish, and then I can call EPS and they can hook it up. So I think I see a checklist coming in my future of what you need to do as a homeowner when it comes to putting in any kind of structure, because this is not the only structure we're going to build. Like, I'm not worried about the house. Dan's going to do everything for the house, but Mike and I are going to build other structures on this property. So I'm going to just create a checklist of what needs to be done. If any of you are in Arizona and you want the checklist, let me know, and I'm happy to send it to you once I create it. So we're going to start laying PVC. We're going to get that done today. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday, and we will talk to y'all later. Bye.